Okay, we've got a C44 here now, and if you're not familiar with dish machines out in the business, you're going to find that Hobart conveyor dish machines are very, very common in restaurants throughout North America, and for that matter around the world. The C44 is the smallest conveyor, but the great thing about the Hobart conveyors is that the hookup for every single one, and there's probably 25 or 30 different conveyors in the C-line Hobart dish machines, but they all hook up the same way. So we're going to show you right now how to hook up either our DigiSet or our MicroPro 2, because they both hook up exactly the same way, to a conveyor in probeless mode, or in probe mode, I should say. We're going to show you probeless in a moment. So right now you can see I've got the power on to the dish machine because we've already done the hookup. So as you can see, we have the display on all the time. Now, even though the machine's not running, the display is on, and if I turn the dish machine on, it's going to be ready to receive chemical, whether it be detergent or rinse additive. And if I come down to a little bit down here, you'll see to our rinse end, I've had to make a connection inside this rinse control box, and every Hobart conveyor machine has one of these rinse boxes. And inside of it, we're going to need one wire from the secondary side of this switch to control our rinse signal. Now, it was easier for me to hook it up because I don't have a table in here, and I realize it'll be difficult, a little difficult for you to get in here to get at this, but you're going to have to get in under the table to get that signal from that box because that's the only place it can come from. What we've done is I've run a line, an extra line from the secondary side of the switch that's in here, and I've run it through this conduit and back into the power supply box. Now you can do it that way if it's convenient for you, or you could run another piece of conduit and bring it into the power supply box, but this is the wire that I ran right here. And then you can see this wire is the other side of my rinse signal. If I go into this box, at the top you can see that there are terminals marked at the back. Mark number 2, and on the other side, number 5. All those connections are dead when the machine is in the off position, so the rinse won't work or anything that's connected. All those wires that are connected right now, there's no power to those until I turn the switch into the on position. So when I do that, what that does is it activates those terminals. But I have this wire on the secondary side of that rinse switch, so the only time I'm going to get my rinse signal is when that rinse paddle inside the machine is activated. So that's important to understand. You can see we'll go up to the DigiSet that I've got hooked up later, but you'll see that this orange and brown wire inside the DigiSet are hooked up to the rinse signal. Next, you'll see that this is a magnetic contactor. The magnetic contactor has a line side down here, and if I do a test for you right now, I'll just show you on my voltmeter that I have power. This machine's 208 volts, and as you can see, I have 215 volts. Okay, and I have a green wire and a red wire hooked up to this, so there's power to my DigiSet, and that's why when we looked at the DigiSet earlier, you could see that the power was on. Now it's not going to operate, but it's ready to operate. I also have a black and white wire hooked up to the secondary side of the magnetic contactor, and you'll see that if I test this, there is no power. But if I just leave those leads on there for a moment, if I can just hang on to this so I can keep it in the view of the camera and flip the switch on, you'll see that this is going to come on now. So this magnetic contactor is just a great big switch to control this motor and the operation of this machine. So when this pulls in, this black and white wire, when we look inside the DigiSet, will be connected to the detergent signal. So every time I turn it on, this is going to activate it to sense what the probe is doing inside the unit. And every time the rinse paddle comes on, my signal is going to go up on the brown and orange wire and make my rinse pump run. So if we go up to the DigiSet and look at it, so I turn the machine on, and right now my detergent concentration is satisfied inside the machine. But if I come down here and turn on my rinse paddle, So as the rack comes through here and turns this on, and now my chemical pump for my rinse comes on, you can now see my rinse pump is activated. And that's from that orange and brown wire I showed you earlier. And when I let go of it, it stops. On. Off. Okay? The reason my chemical pump for detergent isn't running is because it's satisfied right now. So I'll shut that off. And I'll open up the DigiSet. You can see that the hookup is really quite similar to that of an AM14. It just works a little bit differently. So here is my incoming power, which is live all the time, coming from the line side of the contactor, the red and green wire that I showed you earlier. That's going to the line side of the contactor. My detergent signal is hooked up to the secondary side of the contactor, which is my black and white wire. I have my rinse signal hooked up to one wire from the secondary side of the rinse switch and the other one to the number 2 connection in the terminal box that we looked at earlier, so that my rinse comes on. And then, of course, my conductivity probe connection, which goes down into the tank like it does on all machines in probe mode. If I come back down to this connection again, whether it's a Hobart dish machine or anybody else's conveyor, every dish machine has a magnetic contactor. So you can always get your secondary signal from, in other words, for the operation of the detergent signal from the secondary side, and you can identify it normally because the contactor will say on T side, just like this was, T1, T2, T3. There'll be 208 volts when the switch is in the on position across any 2 of these contacts, and that will give you the power you need to run your detergent signal. If you want the dispenser to be on all the time, you can just go to line 1, line 2, or line 3 to power the transformer in the unit so that the DigiSet will be lit all the time.